Two.
Hello, thank you guys for joining our presentation. We are doing a presentation on the little lifestyle and age play and everything in between. So to begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Hilly or Allie. My little goes by Allie. 34. I've been involved in actively in the lifestyle since about 2007 and have been all over the board with different lifestyle dynamics. I am currently helping to run the 504 Little Scouts troop. I also run a Littles Facebook group, Littles and Ageplay Facebook group, CGL. On top of that, I have a YouTube channel where I make educational videos, and I have even actually written a short story erotic novella that has an age play theme to it. Pronouns are she, her. And I would like to introduce my co-presenters if they would love to step forward and introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fear the Queer, or Fear for short. My pronouns are Z, Zir, and Zirs. I'm a switchy baby puppy from New Orleans, Louisiana. I founded Little Scouts Troop 504, and right now I'm the co-chair and treasurer of the New Orleans Bondage and Leather Enthusiasts Group. I've also been playing with rope for 3 years, and I've just started learning self-suspension on myself during the coronavirus.
Sweet. And I guess I'll close out by saying, hi, I'm Mako Allen. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Big Little podcast, which is like a decade old now. And I'm an author and a kinky software developer. I'm the creator of a behavior chart for littles called WeMinder that I'll tell you guys all about in the breakout room when you hang around for that sort of thing. And I'm an age player through and through. I'm a big, a little, a switch, part of a big poly kinky leather family, lots of experience doing this stuff for a real long time. And I kind of have a thing for sharks, just a little teeny bit.
So to start off with, if you're watching this video, you are more than likely one of 3 different types of people.
Right. Like maybe you're really curious about age play, bigs and littles and all this stuff, but you've never done it before or don't have any direct knowledge of it.
Or you are a little and you're still trying to figure this out, and you're trying to figure out what kind of a little you are, or you're learning more about what your little likes and how to find different spaces.
Or your friend or partner is a little and you're trying to figure out how to interact with them and how to make them feel supported in their little identity.
Well, the good news here is that just like all of these 3 kinds of people, we have a special guest with us today, and that is a injection molded plastic friend of mine, this guy, Appa. Appa's got lots of questions, and he's going to ask them to us so that we can help him and you learn more about this stuff. All right, Appa, what do you got? What's your first question? What's a little anyway, and what are littles like? Well, that's a good question. And let me start off by saying a proviso about that, which is that I can speak in like large sweeping gestures. We all can, but we can't speak in absolutes. You can say that many people, that many littles, many bigs, many age players, many kinky people are a certain way, but you can't say all. Only total assholes speak in absolutes, which is funny because saying that is being an asshole and speaking in an absolute. The truth is that there's no one way to be a little or a big. It's really kind of what you make it. And having said that, I do have a theory about it. It's my grand secret theory of age play and what age play really is for many, but not all. Age play has nothing to do with age at all. In fact, that really what's going on is that for a lot of people, what they're doing is they're trading vulnerability, being vulnerable to somebody else, needing someone to be vulnerable to you. And you're doing it through a common language, a trope that's familiar to everybody, which is the trope of caregiving, right? Needing someone to hold your hand when you cross the street, or wanting to take someone out, you know, for a meal at a restaurant and cut their food up for them, are that same trading of vulnerability. And it's and there's like sexual things too. That's also a place to be vulnerable. And that pervades a lot of interactions. It is a kind of power exchange. Having said that, there's a thing to understand about age play, that age play relationships, and I don't just mean like someone's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mommy, your daddy, whatever, even if they're just your friend, all these relationships have this certain something in common, a food metaphor I like, that's called the cake and the icing, right? And that's, yeah, age play relationships are a piece of cake. But I don't mean that they're easy. They're not, they're quite challenging, really. But what I mean is that they're layered, okay? The cake part is just, you know, being a decent human being, not lying to one another, agreeing that if you're going to meet someplace on Thursday at 2 o'clock, that you're there and maybe on time or even a little early, right? Not breaking the other person's crap, being a decent human being, paying gas money if you're going on a long car trip together. That's cake. The problem with cake is that while cake is lovely and it's the basis of a ongoing and good relationship with somebody, cake is dry. Cake by itself gets you nowhere. Icing is all that other stuff, right? Like, we're going to lay on the floor together on our bellies and color in our big giant coloring book, or I'm going to check your diaper, or you're going to see if my underpants are wet, or you need a spanking because you color on the walls. Please don't do that. All of those things. Icing is like sweet and spicy and magnificent. But the problem with icing is that icing has no substance. If you agree that you're going to get together with your caregiver so that they can give you a bubble bath, but your caregiver can't make it to your house because they don't have any money and they lied to you about what they're doing. Like, if you don't feel good about them as a person, there's no amount of icing that's going to fix that, right? And the good news is that these things do like work together. You can meet someone that has good icing with you and dive deep underneath to look to see if your cake is compatible. You can be in a trusting relationship with someone that has good cake that you like and bring up icing and try it out together. They work together. There's other ways to talk about this, though, not just my food thing. Fear's got a really good one.
Yeah, I was about to say, you reminded me of what I call your needs, wants, and wishes. And I actually do this with all of my relationships that I'm in. So needs is kind of like the cake, you know, it's the basis, the foundation, all the, I guess, average stuff in your relationship, and the foundation, like I said. The wants is stuff that you want to have in your relationship, but they're not essential. But they can spice it up a little bit like the icing. But then needs, wants, wishes goes one step further than that. And it also talks about, I guess, like what you would love to see in your relationship and what would make you feel most fulfilled and what your furthest away wishes are, and like stuff that's actually attainable and close, but you wouldn't know that you were looking for that in that relationship unless your partner and you talked about it. So that's what I use, but you know, it's very similar to the cake and icing.
One thing I would also like to bring up, when it comes to once you bring in another person into your dynamic, when it's, you know, once you've gone from just being like a solo little to having a dynamic with a big and creating some kind of dynamic, I think that there are a couple important essentials that you need to consider, like your real life limitations. You may or may not suffer from either, you know, physical or mental disabilities, or have some special needs, or just, you know, age will do some things that just make you not able to roll around on the floor or coloring and stuff like that. There can also be rules in your relationship, just like in other normal DS relationships, but you have to kind of make accommodations for their little headspace. So the kind of rules you're going to be looking for are going to be more based on, you know, what you might need to remind a child of because they're too busy having fun.
Oh, it looks like Appa has another question.
Appa, you have a question.
Bring
What's
it,
your
buddy.
question?
How do I know if I'm a little, or say if my friend Prince Zuko might be one?
So that is an excellent question, Appa. Thank you for that question. And to answer it, the best way for you to find out if you're little, you're just curious, the best way to go about it is to just start exploring. Create a safe space for yourself with things that make you feel good, and it can be with or without a dominant. Just start exploring. My biggest rule is trust your gut. So if you start playing with a stuffed animal and it just doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Maybe you're not a stuffed animal kind of little. So try, sucking on a passy and see if that helps. And if that helps, that's your happy space in your little space. But also, just try little activities. Grab coloring books, grab puzzles, put on Disney movies and play kid songs and get up and dance and just explore. And don't be afraid to find things you don't like, and that's okay. And, like, forgive yourself if you find something that you don't like. The biggest thing that I tell people is not to get stuck into that rhetoric of, well, this isn't really what a little is supposed to do, because there's no such thing as what a little is supposed to do. So try not to get caught up in that. Just do what feels right for you and explore. And number two, be your own big. It's going to be wonderful to when you have a big in your life. It is not a necessity. Your little space can be unique to you, and you do not need a big. Learn how to be your own big first.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too for just taking care of yourself as someone that's participating in a DS relationship in any kind of way. That you have to be able to take care of yourself and fill your own cup, so that you know what to expect from your partners. That I know what I deserve. I know what I need to be taken care of. So if you're not giving me at least that, then this isn't going to be something that's going to work. And that just really takes experimentation and like playing with it. Like we littles love to play. And it's really awesome too to be able to find other age players. Right now during COVID, we can't really meet in person, like I've done with other Little Scouts troops and the Little Scouts troop that I founded. But age players are online everywhere having discussions. I know that Hilly founded a Facebook group for littles, and I know that Mako is on a couple of Discord chats for littles that are really cool. There's also FetLife groups, as well as TikTok, Facebook, any social media you use, there's probably a group of littles that are talking about what they're doing, how they're playing, what they're experimenting with. And you can learn a lot from being a part of those online communities.
Yeah, and I think that we'll probably talk a little bit about that once we go into the breakout room too. So we can list a couple of our own groups that we know of that are safe, because they're not always, there are some unsafe groups out there. So be careful, be safe, trust your gut.
It's true. It looks like Appa has another question. What is it?
What's your question, Appa?
Well, how do I not be creepy doing this stuff? Oh, that's a really good one. Okay. So here's the deal, right? Being little or being big, being an age player, is really just another flavor, another variation on being a kinky person. And there are some tried and true rules in the kink community that apply right here for all this stuff. Okay. Let's just say that you're just a normal spanking person. That's a thing, right? If you go to a spanking party or go to a club where spanking is happening, there are some pretty common sense do's and don'ts. Okay. Going without expectations and just being your own authentic self, awesome. Watching the events unfolding and politely observing, awesome. Okay. Making assumptions that you should get to play with somebody else or that someone should play with you, not awesome. Watching a scene is one thing, but getting right up in somebody's face and staring at them while they're doing it, not awesome. Right. Don't do that. Don't touch what isn't yours. Don't touch other people unless they say you can. Be respectful of people and their boundaries. The truth is that everybody wants to feel welcome and invited and not be manipulated or gaslit or approached in ways that make them feel uncomfortable. It's true of all people, and you know what? Everybody's a people. And the thing about this is that often there's an assumption that goes about this which is that it's always like a big approaching a little that is the source of these sort of creepy consent violations. And I'm sad to say that ain't so. This thing goes every which way. Littles that are super demanding and like assume that just because you're not little, you're their big and you'll get them a juice box or change their diaper or spank them. That's just as bad, right? I mean, I would say, what was it, Allie, you were saying about this?
Um, Basically that the rule of thumb, I think the difference here is to understand that the person that you are interacting with is not a child. They're little. There is a difference. And really, honestly, the best rule of thumb to go with is assume nothing. Never assume that you can do something. Never assume that it would be acceptable or considered proper behavior
Yeah.
to do just about anything. Basically, be respectful, keep a healthy distance, observe the same way you did when you first started going to kink parties and observing, spaces, the same way that you were told when you were probably given initial application initiation. We were told all of the rules. Same thing. Same thing goes for littles.
That looks like Appa's got another question.
But what's your question?
All right. All this stuff sounds great, you guys. But how do you deal with like a giant worldwide war or the Avatar disappearing for 100 years or like having to go to work? Oh, okay. So what we're talking about is like real life, at least real life in the Avatar world and our world, I guess. Appa, it's a great question, really. This kind of gets back to something that Ali was just saying, which is the truth is even if you feel little, even if you love bubbles and coloring books and laying on your tummy and kitten piles, like the truth is you're still a grown-up, right? And as a grown-up, you have a certain responsibility and power in your life. The term for it's called agency. Agency means that as a grown-up, you get to do whatever you want within reason, but you are also responsible for those things, right? So even though you're little, you do have a job. You have to pay the rent. You have to brush your teeth. You have to wash your butt. Okay. You can be cute and you can be quirky and you can live a life of your own desire and flavor. Like I have a million shark things in my house, right? I mean, here's some of them. I have this is not my only shark hat. I have many of them. I have sweaters with sharks all over them and all kinds of crazy things. And I get to be quirky and indulge those little desires of mine in a socially acceptable manner. But in the end, I am responsible for that. It's my judgment call over what's good and bad to do, how to conduct myself in public, how to manage my own responsibilities. You're never going to get away from that. People that tell you that because they are little, they don't have to be responsible. They don't have to do thing XYZ that other people have to do. Those are not people being age players. Those are codependent assholes.
Can I also add just for clarification, if you encounter someone who does act in that way, somebody who insists that because they're little that they don't have responsibilities and they don't need to work and you're responsible for them and you're responsible for their feelings, that is toxic. And I want to put that out there, like straight out of the gate. That is toxic. That is not little space, and that is not being a responsible kinkster. That is manipulating and using somebody so that you don't have to be a responsible adult. Don't do that, and don't play with a little that's going to act that way.
Right. So my question is, knowing that you're a grown-up, knowing that you're little, what do you do with that? Like, Fear, I know you got stuff about this, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to tie in, relationship problem solving to kind of being in the real life as a little, because as littles, we're going to have relationships with other people. And we still need to work out whatever issues there are. So whether it be a toxic situation that it might just be best for you to dip out and find a little bit more of a healthy situation, or whether you need to have a serious conversation with your daddy about how you don't like the way that he tucks you in and that needs to change, or you can't do it anymore and you're going to go crazy. So you still have to deal with all of those same relationship problems that you would deal with in any relationship being a little, but you might have to approach it in a slightly different way.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that we can't advocate for ourselves and for others just because we're little. Like we're childlike, not children. Like you said earlier, Mako, we have agency to be able to do those things. And so I think that it's part of our responsibility as people that are a part of this community to advocate for others and teach people what healthy, important parts of the relationship, what healthy parts of a relationship people should be looking for.
Definitely. Oh, looks like our buddy here has another question. All right. What is it, Appa? So let's say hypothetically that there's this sky bison who might maybe kind of be little. Could that sky bison help other people with this stuff, hypothetically?
Thanks, Appa. That was awesome. So definitely, hypothetically, sky bison could do that. And so could any other little. So littles have actually started in this decade with working, or I guess last decade maybe, with Little Scouts in 2014. And that was kind of the first organization that formed to try and get littles into more leadership and to make events for and by littles. Since then, it's grown to an international basis. So there's scout troops in a bunch of countries around the world. And there's 7 official chapters or troops in my region alone, in the southern region of the United States. But there's lots of up and coming new troops. So you can find troops by searching troop, insert your area code here. So for in New Orleans, it's troop 504. But you can search whatever your area code is on FetLife and see if it exists. If not, you can make it happen yourself. It's just about getting together and talking and deciding what kind of growth you'd like to see for your overall community. People like A Busy, who is the International Person of Leather in 2017, was a little, as well as J Baby, the International Leather Boy of 2019. So there's been a history of littles in leadership, and we're just, starting to build that, and you can be a part of it as well. And a huge part about being a leader is learning from what works and from what doesn't. You've got to embrace the mistakes that you make while you're working in leadership, and apologize if you need to, because we're all learning and growing as a part of this greater kink community. And we can always make improvements to how we treat others.
Oh, it's so true, right? I'm like the old little of the group. I'm 50. And I've been doing this stuff for decades, and I can tell you, if I had a diaper for every mistake that I had made in my age play career, I wouldn't be able to move in my house. It would just floor to ceiling, right? Yeah, it would be kind of hot. And over the years, among the things that I've done, right? Like I started a podcast, I created the Age Play Pride symbol, I've hosted events, I've created munches, and like I can't tell you the number of mistakes I've made doing those things. Pain is a teacher. Just an example mistake. I used to have a munch in a steak restaurant where there was one check for the whole table. I did that for about 4 months back in the day. I wound up getting completely stiffed on the bill by like 4 or 5 people that showed up, ate food, got too uncomfortable, and were so uncomfortable they left without paying for their food, and I wound up paying for it. Like that shit sucks. Okay. But the thing is, it's like I said, pain is a teacher. So I learned that like it's best to have munches in places that have counter service where you pay for your food ahead of time, right? That it's best to have munches in a place where there's maybe a separate room or a terrace where you can like have your table in a corner, right? You learn these things by like bumping into them. And a big part of that whole like make mistake, retrench, start again thing is there's a certain attitude that you have to cultivate. And what the attitude is that you're in for the duration, that whatever's going to happen, you're going to roll with it and see how it goes. Okay. Um, the, the, the truth of the matter is that as a leader, like you're still a little or a big and just like a people like everybody else. There's not some like magical level of competence. No one comes along and like, taps you on the forehead with the magic age play wand, boop, and now you're a perfect leader. That's not real. Okay. So what you do is use your own experiences to be present and like your own feelings in your life to help other people. Like when people come to the DC Age Play Munch or the virtual DC Age Play Munch, which is still a thing during the pandemic, one of the things I go out of my way to do is sit with them and talk with them about their experience. Because I remember what it was like being new. I remember going to like my first event and feeling like, oh my God, there's other people like me. And if I haven't met them before and don't talk to them about spanking and diapers and everything else, I'm gonna die, right? And like everybody goes through that. Well, let's say a lot of people go through it. I guess I don't want to be an asshole, right? And so like to like be there and listen to people and witness to them makes them feel better. That you're already an expert in age play because you are one. Yeah.
I'd actually like to add on to that too.
Please.
One of the things you mentioned is, you're already in age play, so you already have some experience. Honestly, being a little and being a leader doesn't really take all that much. I mean, it's as easy as, like in my situation, just deciding to create a Facebook group and, advertising it on your page if you have like a kink friendly social media page, like create the group, advertise it. I can talk a little bit in the breakout room about good ways to moderate and good things to look out for and ways to continue to help make it a safe space, because we went into a whole discussion about, when they do how the groups have the questions that you have to answer when you submit a request to join. We use that as kind of a vetting system to see if these people seem good or not, etc. But the thing is, all I did was create a group, and then it kind of spiraled out of my ability to control. So then I had to I had to bring on some other littles to help me moderate the group. But it really wasn't a whole lot of effort on my part. I just created the group, and then people found that this was a space that they could go to, and they came in droves because people are desperate for more spaces. Doesn't take much. You want to lead, you want to create space, and you want to just be there and be a little and be willing to talk to others.
It's true. Looks like Appa's got a question again. One more, buddy? Okay. But what if you like really scary things, or like being kind of sexy dirty when you're little or with a little? Is that okay? Appa, it is okay. But before we talk about it, there's something that we need to tell the audience, okay? The stuff we're about to talk about can be kind of triggery. So here's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to put my hand up like this, and as will our other speakers. And we will put our hands down when we are no longer talking about stuff that you might find triggery. So if you want to mute us, do a little fast forward action, whatever, that's totally cool, okay? All right, so hands up, pants down. No kidding. So let's talk about what's going on with this stuff. People call that dark age play, but that's really a bit of a misnomer, because conflating things that are dirty and things that are dark isn't necessarily true, right, Allie?
That's correct. Sexual age play isn't necessarily dark. There's also, just like dark age play isn't necessarily sexual age play isn't necessarily dark. There have been instances where, I've been with a caregiver and we've sort of mixed, some kind of fun, lighthearted activity, like, giving me a bubble bath with, kind of slipping a hand down and copping a feel here or there, or touching a little tender spot.
Sure.
And it's teasing. And my little personally does enjoy the sexual aspect. So just like I enjoy spanking and have a like kink for spanking, she also does. On top of that, she has once in a while, okay, more than once in a while, popped out in the middle of sex. And there's nothing dark about it. It's more of like an innocence, but also, it's sexual, but it's innocent, but it's fun, and it's kind of like, ooh, we're doing a little bit something we're not supposed to do, but enjoying it. There's nothing wrong with it, and there's nothing dark about that. The reason I think that people use the word dark is that it's just sort of a blanket to express a more triggering part of kink.
Yeah, there's a word I think you're looking for there, right? And the word is taboo. And things can be taboo for a number of reasons, because they are highly sexual, or because they are really dark and disturbing. Okay. Um, uh, I have a good friend who's a age player who's little and who loves it when her top plays with her while drunk, has alcohol on his breath. Okay. And that is some scary, scary business. Okay. And not something that you can do casually, right? Like, you got to know someone well. I have another friend who he likes it when his mommy scolds him and says that he's been badly behaved, and that if he doesn't straighten up, she's going to throw away his toys, and actually will take toys of his and throw them in the garbage in front of him. Right? That's the horrible. Okay. Um, you know, it's a way to play with consequence and negative themes.
Well, here
Why
actually,
would people like that?
there was
Right?
another one that I wanted to bring up, that isn't dark, but is sexual age play, and it delves into the DS part of things.
Okay.
When you're an age player who also has a DS dynamic, and you maybe have rules and protocols, and you break a rule, delving into sexual age play, consequences for breaking a rule could be denial of an orgasm, or maybe your daddy likes to edge you instead of letting you have an orgasm, but there are also sexual rewards for doing a good job. You got like 28 gold stars, and your daddy gives you a couple extra orgasms, or gives you
Right.
some sexy scene time or playtime. None of that is dark. Those are all ways to enhance the dynamic that you're already in.
Right. It's the forbidden nature of these things that gives them their power. And as we said before, littles are not children. We can be childlike, but we're not children. And sometimes the strong nature of our emotions, the strong nature of our response creates that power, which is why these things are appealing to people. I think we're good here.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my hand down. I think we put our hands down,
and down.
right?
Well,
And I think it's time to kind of close things off. I know that
yeah,
we each have some comments we want to say.
yeah.
I'll pass the baton to you, Allie. Go.
Well, so just as to close out, I wanted to touch on like the things that were important to recap on. First of all, that littles are adults, just like Mako just said, they are adults that enjoy a range of childlike activities. We are all as littles. Every little is as unique as however many littles there are out there. There's no one rule or one way to be little, and there's no wrong way to. You can't. There's no like, you can't be a little because you're a boy, or I'm too tall to be little, I'm too small to be little, I'm too old, too big. There is no such thing. The rule to take away is be safe, play with consenting adults, negotiate, and go with your gut.
Right. And remember that, as an age player, you're a kinky person. You're a person, right? So engage in the things that you do with respect and with an eye toward consent. Don't involve people that haven't agreed to be involved with you, right? So wearing that cool poo t-shirt out to the cafe, totally awesome. Wearing your diaper such that people in the restaurant can see it and be wigged out by it, not awesome. Assume nothing and just like, be a mammal. And Vera, I know you got some points you wanted to make too.
Yeah. So, just littles can do pretty much anything that anyone else in the community can. We're just as able. We just have to put ourselves forward and believe that we can do it for ourselves. Littles can do any kind of leadership they want. It doesn't have to be centered around doing more stuff for littles, but there's been an increasing amount of spaces that have been created by people like us or people like you. And it really just takes making the space, and people will come.
And last but not least, I want to stress that it's important to remember to balance your play with your adult responsibilities, and to not let yourself get so lost in the play, in the age play, that you forget to take care of your adult responsibilities. It's all about balance, and it's about having fun while making sure that everything is already covered, so that you're free to have fun. Because if you get so lost in your age play that you forget about things like paying your bills, you're going to start realizing you're going to have less and less time to be little, because things in your real life are going to get really difficult. So make sure to balance everything. And have fun. Like, rule number 1, have fun.
Definitely. All right.
So as we wrap this up, as we all told you guys before, we're going to be moving out into a break room for a little bit of Q&A. I think that's going to be an opportunity also for Mako to talk about his Beeminder app. If you guys have questions about the little group that I have on Facebook, or have any interest in finding out where you can buy like the book I wrote, or any such other questions that you may have from anything that you heard during this discussion, come join us in the breakout room, and we'll be there for an hour or so to answer any questions you guys have.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.